happening with the pump fake and one dribble inside to the long two, and he makes it. That's been his game his whole career. But look at him smiling. We go, my bad. The long two.
Welcome to another episode of The Long Two. I am Pete Rogers. He is Natty Wallach, and we are a Carmelo Stanthony podcast and occasionally talk fantasy basketball. And Natty, since we do occasionally talk it, how is fantasy basketball going for you? How are your teams doing?
Well, the only league that really matters to me is the Dynasty League that I'm in with my friends and have been for a while. And I am currently in first place.
Well,
so
look at that.
It's going pretty okay. How about you?
I am doing well, but I have become victim of the rash of injuries that has been sweeping the NBA. And it has forced me, my one true love, Luka Doncic, is currently nursing his ankle, which has left me scrambling. I know. Thank God that it was just like, I say minor, but like he'll be out for probably a week, maybe a week plus. But at least it's, God, can you imagine if it was like an Achilles or anything torn, ruptured, busted? That would have been devastating.
When I first saw it, my reaction was, oh no, that sucks. And then my second reaction was, oh, well, if it's not too bad, but they could like sit him out, then maybe that wouldn't be like the worst thing in the world.
And then they set him out. And what do you know? They end the Bucks 18-game win streak.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So
that's the Bucks looking beyond them. Because
it seems like they should just trade Luka while his value is at its highest. They don't even really need him.
Absolutely.
Don't you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, Dion Waiters is available. Like,
there's your fucking franchise savior right
Aaron
there.
Gordon for sure. Yeah, sell high. That's so funny.
But anyways, the Luka impact for myself, his absence left me scrambling on the waiver wire today because I needed to try my darndest to at least make up for his absence. And so I figured, hey, we are a third of the way into the NBA season, which has kind of snuck up on us. Like it's already almost 2020.
Yeah, it always does, but then the middle lasts so long. It's like 1984. It's like you check the page count. It's like there's 100 more pages of this. Jesus. God damn, I get it. Anyway, like the doldrums of the NBA season are nearly upon. It's basically like after New Year's when it's like, oh, okay, there's playoffs happening, and then college basketball's heating up, and then baseball's getting closer in February, and it's the NFL, and then all of a sudden after March Madness, it's like, oh yeah, the NBA.
Oh, I forgot about the fact
there's
that the
a couple weeks left, and
we're suddenly getting into the finals.
Yeah. Like no one pays attention.
And that's why
the NBA is worried about their numbers right now, and they're going to fucking plummet over the winter.
They're going to drop, and that's why they're trying to figure out cool schedule tweaks. And maybe we'll talk about that on a different podcast. But I figured we'd take today's podcast to talk some waiver wire ads because there have been a fair number of injuries that have gone down, or players who are just maybe not producing at the level you need them to. And I don't know about you, Natty, but I decided I've got 3 guys on my list here that I wanted to talk about. And each one I kind of feel like has a specific stat category. If you're looking to address this on your team, these are some guys you can look towards. I don't know if that's similarly how you approached it, but I'm going to start with a guy who I added on my team because I was looking at my roster and I was like, you know what? Luka's out. Luka surprisingly has been leading my team, or second on my team in rebounds behind Rudy Gobert. And I was like, if the biggest thing that I'm going to miss from missing Luka is going to be missing rebounds. So I went to my waiver wire, added myself Cody Zeller. Charlotte Hornets,
Sure.
29% rostered. He's averaging 7.9 boards, 11.6 points. And in the last 5 games, averaging 8.8 boards, 13 points, 1.2 stocks, which, is pretty nice. And is taking 1.8 threes, which I am quasi on board with. He's not making much. I think he's like hitting 20% of them. But hey, I'll give him props for at least
He's
attempting
trying.
them. Exactly. And now he's starting for the next 5 or so games, probably with PJ Washington out, which means he's going to get starter minutes, which means he's going to get you more boards. But he's been a consistent board getter, likely available on your waiver wire. So if you are needing to address rebounds on your team, someone who I certainly think you should be targeting.
Yeah, it's that time of year where you just have to get dudes that are available, and Cody Zeller is available, and he gets you these are all specialists that we're going to be talking about for the most part, and you're just looking for volume, and they're streamers, or you can roster some of them. Like last year, actually the past 2 years, I've just had Ed Davis on my team because his rebounds per minute were sky high, and he would always get you 10 rebounds, like no matter what, even in 12 minutes. So Cody Zeller fits that perfectly because you don't really know what's going to happen with that team in terms of trades. But like for right now, he's the dude that is in the paint.
Yeah. And something that I've come to realize with my roster construction is because we often talk about my league is not an uber deep league. I don't know how many there are. There's like maybe 10 to 12 of us, probably about 10, I think. And so one of the things I've realized in my roster construction is that we talk about a lot of guys, or you read about a lot of guys who are hot and you want to get them on your squad just for the little stretch of the time that maybe they're peaking. And I found myself being like, but who realistically on my team can I drop for them? And so I like kind of like, even if it's sacrificing a spot, kind of keeping a streamer spot open where you can be like, I'm not going to get attached to Cody Zeller. Cody Zeller, I'll probably dump him once he gets off the starting lineup, right? Once PJ Washington comes back, Cody Zeller goes back to 20 minutes a game. Still could get you pretty solid boards, but but I'm not now relying on him all that much. And now I have this roster spot on my team where if whatever the next streaming option crops up, or like Kendrick Nunn is still currently on our waiver wire, and if I'm like, well, he's still playing really well, I'll snag him up in a week. I have this spot that I can kind of rotate people through, and I like that. I'm learning how to construct my rosters. This is only my second fantasy basketball year, and I like that little move for myself.
Yeah, streaming in basketball is fun because of the ups and downs that a bunch of the slightly above average to average players go throughout a season. And it's also about like how many games they play in the week and how many shot attempts do they get. Like you're looking at volume and trying to decide like what your floor is for the coming week. And going out and getting a specialist is the best way to help your team. Like if you need 3-pointers made, then just go get a dude that's all he does.
Right.
And same with board. Like it's a little bit rougher for just rebounds. Like that's not someone you'd want to roster. But like we said, Ed Davis and Cody Zeller, like you can just stream those guys. You don't care if somebody else rosters them really.
Right.
I try to have 2 streaming spots on my team actually, because that makes me try to consolidate, which helps when you if your league loses dudes over the off season. And also, it's just fun to stream dudes.
Yeah, no,
it's fun to hit on somebody. It's fun to have someone have a 25-point game out of nowhere, and you just had them because they give you 4 assists.
Yeah. Who's a guy you're looking to add off waivers, or are you on waivers?
So for boards, I went with someone slightly more owned. PJ Tucker, 42.3% owned, but he's 30th in total rebounds over the last 30 days. 30th. 7 players have 25 plus 3-pointers made and 100 plus rebounds over the past month. That list is Luka Doncic, Big Cat, LeBron, Pascal Siakam, Giannis, Porzingis, and PJ Tucker. He has been number 60 on the ESPN player rater for the season. He's an incredible player, and he's less than 50% owned, and he gets you rebounds. Look at the top 30. Are you kidding me? From a forward position, he doesn't get you the points, but everything else he's done well. I think he's still shooting at above 50%. He's great. I can't believe he's not more owned. He's number 60.
Yeah, shit. He's available in my league, and now that you just made that pitch, I'm like, man,
Like, he's a player that has to play
PJ
34
Tucker.
minutes a game because Houston doesn't have another player that does what he does.
Right. He's averaging 36 minutes a game on the season.
That's
like not
seems
even
unsustainable.
Not
God,
even in the last
Tony,
like
Jesus.
week. It's just like, hey, PJ Tucker, you are getting basically 40 minutes a game for the season.
And sometimes he's not going to give you more than, like, I don't know, 7 points, but he usually does something else that really helps your team, and his ratios are good.
Yeah, no, and if you look, I mean, I'm looking at his last 6 games right in front of me, and it's basically it's either you get a single digit game or you get, he's got 6, 23, 7, 21, 2, 17. So in this course of a week, that's 2 to 3 double digit good games and 1 to 2 single digit games. But if you're counting up your entire week's worth, that's still plenty in order to help your team. And he gets you 1.8 stocks on the season. No, he's a good guy. I like, and plus anytime you can get a active member, a 30+ minute person of a high flying offense that wants to move the ball, you're going to take that.
Yeah. It's one of these blue collar, not very sexy players in fantasy, but those are always the ones you want on your team.
Totally.
Because they're undervalued and they help you win weeks. They just raise your floor.
And maybe we'll talk about this in a later pod, maybe after the holiday break, we'll talk about this. But those guys are the kind of guys too that are great trade pieces.
Sure.
Like if I'm trying to, trade DeMar for someone who's better than DeMar, PJ Tucker is the perfect kind of fringe, good fantasy player who I personally didn't invest anything in, right? Because I didn't draft him. I can grab him on waivers, but he's a solid player that if I'm looking to trade up for someone, that you can add that to the trade, and whomever you're trading with is like, okay, now I'm getting one very good player and a solid guy for my star or whatever it is. And so those are guys that once you start thinking about, all right, how do I want to really solidify my lineup and my roster heading into the back end of the season, those are the people who are really good to have on your roster because you can just kind of toss them into trades to sweeten the pot.
He's the type of player that good teams trade for before the playoffs in fantasy because of how solid he is and how much he raises your floor, which is why I kept him on my team this year so that I don't have to fucking trade for him again.
Look at you thinking ahead.
Dude, he's top 60. I didn't expect this, but
I
mean, he's been a top 100 player, I believe. And he's just not scoring turns people off so hard in basketball.
Yeah, it's so true.
So hard.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because there's all these other categories that also matter. And you can really just pick up great dudes that need to be complicated by good scoring. If you don't have someone who's scoring over 20 on your team, then you should focus on trading for that sort of player rather than PJ Tucker. But he's a great playoff player in real life and in fantasy basketball. It's great.
Yeah, another guy who's in that top 60 ESPN player rater who you can get on waivers, who, if you're looking for assists, this is my assist guy for you, is Thomas Satoransky for the Bulls.
Yes.
And I know last year we didn't have the podcast, but I know Natty on Fake Teams, you wrote a bunch about him when he was playing for the Wizards because he came in when John Wall got injured. I was going to say John Paul, which I guess was a combination of Sean Paul and John Wall. That would
they could be the same. I've never seen them in the same room together.
Let's get that. Let's get John Wall and Sean Paul in a room together. Let's make that happen, people. But
that'd be a fun party.
Satoransky has solidified himself as he's the starting point guard for the Bulls. No questions asked. 15% owned. He's 57 overall in ESPN player rating. Top 20 if you're doing it in terms of assists. And he's averaging 5.3 per game. Plus, he brings some scoring, 9.2 points per game. And the thing I like about him is that he is shooting 40% from 3 this season. Mm-hmm. And so if you see any of those attempts even take a slight uptick up, you're now starting that points is going to start reaching into the double digits. And now you're averaging 10 and 5 a game, maybe even 11 and 6. That's great. Stocks 1.7, gets the occasional rebound. I like him a lot if you're looking to get assists onto your squad. And also, again, like PJ Tucker, It's a top 60 player. If you need help, this is where you get your help from. You get your help from someone who's 15% owned and is a top, 60 player.
Over the last 30 days, he has 90 total assists. That's tied for 14th in the NBA. That's pretty good. Fuck the Bulls, obviously, but
Sorry,
I've loved him.
I should have led with that. I should have been like, my pick is Thomas Satoransky. Fuck the Bulls. Here's what you need to know,
dude. And if he was still on the Wizards, it would just
that would be exciting.
Yeah, it would. Anyway, it's fine. It's all just fine. He's a good player, and he's the sort of dude that occasionally gets close to a triple double, and like, you grit your teeth and you're like, dog, just one fucking more. Come on.
Just do it. Throw the ball off the backboard to yourself. Ricky Davis it.
Yeah. But like guys that get you 7, 7, and 7 are rare, like this kind of volume, while it's not in the double digits, is super fucking helpful, especially again in a week when you have 3 or 4 games.
Right.
And he had a really slow start, point guard. Oh yeah. And he's good. Yeah. He's good in real life for sure.
Yeah. I think he's definitely someone.
Crazy.
Do you have an assist guy?
I do. My guy is fairly similar to your guy. He is 14% owned. My guy is Rondo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rondo over the past month has 75 total assists. Satoransky had 90 as a reminder. So Rondo is 23rd most in total assists over the last month. However, also over the past month, he's been shooting 48.7% from 3.
What?
He's shooting 45 from 3 on the season.
What?
33 players are averaging 5+ assists per game and 3+ rebounds per game on the season, including Rondo. Of those 33 who are averaging 5 assists and 3 rebounds, Rondo has the best 3-point percentage.
When did Rondo become this like sharpshooter from downtown?
Exactly. So that's what my next comment is on my pad. Actually, it's like question mark. It's obviously the best of his career.
Wait.
And he's not taking that many of them. I don't even think he's averaging 3 per game. But having Anthony Davis and LeBron James on your team opens up shots for you. And Danny Green, who is a great he hasn't been great this year, but he's a known perimeter threat. He's also out there. So Rondo might just be getting open shots and finally taking advantage of them because like everybody's doing it. And only 12 other players have attempted at least 44 3-point attempts this year and also shot 45% from 3, including Davis Bertans, who everybody knows is the best shooter in the world, and
Don't
JJ
worry,
Redick.
we'll talk
Rondo's
about
on
him.
that list. Oh,
yeah.
Sure, totally. Like he's shooting well. And it's weird, but then you look at the context and who else is on that team, and you're like, oh yeah, well, maybe that makes sense. Obviously he could trail off, but the shooting is just gravy. He's getting you assists. 5+ assists per game. 5 dimes on the wire is unacceptable. You have to have dudes like that on your team because assists are hard to find. And Rondo is another guy who can sometimes get you close to a triple-double. And he's had several in his career.
Oh, yeah. Rondo's like...
And that can win you a week if you have triple-doubles as a category.
Right. And that's what Rondo is like the pinnacle of the irrational, not so much a heat check, but just like will get hot for whatever random reason. And when he gets hot, he knows he's got hot, and then he just runs with it. And he can, since he's shooting well from 3, he's got open shots. You know that he can dish out double-digit assists like it's absolutely nothing, especially with that team. And if his minutes increase at all. But like he could be the guy who you put on your squad, and you've got him, and he's giving you whatever, a casual 5 and 5 for most of the week, and then all of a sudden has one game where he goes off for 23 and 12. And you're like, oh, well, good thing and then adds, 8 boards. And you're like, well, good thing I had Rondo on my team. Like if you're thinking of people who have a very solid floor, who can hit some really ridiculous highs, and not only like might hit them, but like I would say with pretty good confidence that at least once a month, Rondo's going to give you a double-double.
He's been injured a little bit, but the fact that the Lakers don't need to rush him back and that he doesn't need to play that many minutes when he does play, all of those things lead to when LeBron or AD sit out, and AD's hurt right now, that means Rondo's usage will go up because he's shown like, okay, yeah, I can do this. It's totally fine. He's I heard I think it was the Hoop Collective that the Lakers might be interested in trying to upgrade their point guard position, which makes sense.
Sure.
Everybody needs shooting, including the Lakers. So and they sort of have some holes to fill. But upgrading the point would make a lot of sense. But I don't think that would hurt Rondo's value because I think he would go to a team where they're like, okay, well, you're probably one of the biggest names on this team now. Yeah, you get to play a lot, and maybe his volume even goes up. And if he stays on the Lakers, then he's just like in prime position to have, I don't know, a really good game like every 3 or 4 games. In the meantime, just giving you dimes and giving you boards, 3+ rebounds per game for a point guard. And if his shooting keeps up, if his ratios keep this, like that's nuts. That it'll be the best shooting season of his career, which should make a lot of sense when you're playing with LeBron James.
Plus, did you see his fake alley-oop pass to LeBron?
Yeah, that's the other thing. It seems like the Lakers are having fun.
Yeah,
like like LeBron fake blocked a layup of his. And they hated each other when it was Boston versus Cleveland when they were both young.
Rondo is like, I mean,
Rondo guarded LeBron in the playoffs.
Well, because Rondo, people are all in like Patrick Beverley and Marcus Smart and like those kinds of defenders who love to just like fuck with you. Dwayne Wade did it a little bit. Chris Paul does it. Like Rondo would just fuck with people. And like the thing is that he grew with KG next to him, and KG was just like, Rondo, fuck with people, and Rondo's like, all right, I'm gonna do this, and he's just so cool. You know, he has this like easy, flat-tempered demeanor that I think he just really just like picks at people to the point where they just can't stand him. Lance Stevenson is another guy, obviously, but Lance Stevenson was a little more flair than actual. He had
Born ready. Hell yeah. The 8th grader.
but no, I mean, I have always loved me Rondo because he was,
and he's always under-owned. It's
always.
Like everyone's always complaining about not being able to find assists, and you're like, dude, that motherfucker's sitting right there. What is wrong with you?
The guy is one of the best passers in the NBA right now. Like
he's always
available for the last decade. Yeah.
By the way, he's on my team too. Like, I am committed to trying to keep like 3 specialists, and so that I don't have to trade for them later, which also helps to consolidate. I'm just irritated. I've made some bad trades, Pete. Yeah. I've made some real bad trades, and I keep track of them. And when I look at them, it's terrible.
No. What's your worst one?
I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it.
Oh, I tried. You alluded to him, and I have to. He's not a specific category. I guess 3-pointers made is a category for him, but the fact that Davis Bertans,
oh my God,
is a top 50 player, is owned in 40% of leagues. Mm-hmm. Natty, I know you can't because you are equally as flummoxed as I am, but explain to me how a guy who's scoring 15 plus a game, shooting 8+ threes at 46% puts up almost 5 boards a game is under 50% owned.
Only 4 players are under 50% owned in the top 60. It's Davis Bertans, it's Tomas Satoransky, PJ Tucker, and our boyfriend, Brooke Lopez.
Brooke.
Pick all 4 of them up right now.
Those players.
You'll win your league. If all 4 of them are available in your league, pick them up and you'll win. Yes. I'm telling you that right now.
Game, set, match.
I think people haven't picked up Bertans because they're skeptical or they don't know who he is because no one's watching Washington. But I would assume that it's people in shallow leagues being like, well, I don't want to drop an established dude for this guy who's had like a good 3 weeks.
Sure.
But it looks real.
But that's
he's shooting so much that it's crazy.
It's absurd.
Because he's been like Steph numbers. So that's really hard to believe. And if you can't drop guys and if you can't stream, then that makes a little bit of sense. But at this point, I think I don't know where I would draw the line, but he's a top 60 player.
The thing is also
you have to pick it up.
Right. And the thing is too, is just like, I understand there's always a line here that's really hard to gauge. And I recognize that, and I admit it. I will not say that I have been able to like perfectly find that line and flirt with it and nail it. But like at a certain point, right, you're always like, all right, well, so for Davis Bertans, you watch a week of him to start the season, you're like, holy shit, this guy is fucking lights out from downtown. Can this really, is this a flash in the pan? I'll give it, 1 more week or 2 more weeks. Okay. And if he continues to play like that, at a certain point, you just got to be like, all right, I'm buying in. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to be like, all right, I'll give it more and more and more. And now you've given it 2.5 months. And if you buy in now, like eventually this is not good. He's not magically turned into a top 20 player in the NBA. Like, I hate to break it to you guys, but so it's not like these numbers are going to keep up. And it's just like at some point you have to just buy in so that you can at least enjoy some of the run that this player is putting together.
This will most likely never happen again for Bertans this season because next season John Wall comes back.
Right.
And presumably they're going to try to improve their team's defense. But the Wizards don't give a fuck about this year. They just want to see what they have and continue having a top 5 offense. And they're just feeding their young dudes. So Bertans and Wagner. Ish Smith has been good while Isaiah Thomas was out. But this season might not ever get replicated for Bertans. But even if he has like 75% of this season, it's crazy how many threes he's shooting, man.
He's shooting 8+ threes at 46%. Yeah.
It's just so fucked up. It's so weird watching the Wizards and being like, shit, like, can't fucking believe this team. And their defense is so bad. Whatever. He's a real player, though. And the thing is, when you put a player on your watch list, you should assume that at least a third of the league has also done that.
Sure.
You should never assume that you're the only player looking at someone on the wire. You should assume that there's a ticking clock and other people are going to pick them up before you.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, it's a moving target when you decide, okay, this guy is now worth my time and it's worth me dropping someone like with a more established name or I like more, whatever. If you're in a league with free agent budgets for a week, you'd rather pick him up at like $3 than $23. And also, if he just keeps this up, this is the sort of dude that can help you win a week in your playoffs. Like if he just makes 7 threes, like that can help you win within a 7-day stretch of games.
Yep.
He's like, it would take so much for him to fall off the map at this point. He just doesn't look like he's a flash in the pan. It looks like this is real. Also, he was doing not this, but he was a great shooter last year for the Spurs, and the Spurs hated losing him, but they only did it because they thought that one of the Morris twins was going to sign with them, and then he signed with the Knicks instead, and blah, blah, blah. But the Spurs got rid of him because they thought they were getting a more established player. They would have kept him if they knew that they weren't.
Totally.
And the Spurs wish they had him right now. Can you imagine San Antonio with this guy?
Oh, it's exactly what they're missing.
It's what everybody is missing, which is why, he absolutely has a tradable contract. I think it's like $7 million or something for 2 years.
Nothing. Yeah.
And so obviously every single team in the NBA, the good and the bad, would like to have that. I read that the Wizards aren't going, like they took him off the trade market, which I think is a really funny thing to do because you must know that his value will never be higher. You
trade him for as much as you talk to the Bucks, the Celtics, the Sixers, and every contender in the East, and you're just like, oh hey, Danny Ainge, you would like this guy? Well, guess what? I've got the Sixers on the line, and they are offering now X, Y, and Z. Can you beat and like just play everyone off of each other and just get an absurd package for him from a contender team?
And it's not like John Wall and Bradley Beal are old, but you're going to try to be competitive with those two as your studs. So keeping Bertans around does make sense because he complements those players, but you're going to have to pay a bunch for him in a couple of years. Would
Mhm.
you rather, and you have no idea how good John Wall is going to be next year. He probably won't be that great.
Right.
It's going to be like a 2-year injury. So maybe you'll be bad again next year. So are you trying to get picks in the future? Would you rather trade Rui Hachimura? Because at this point, Rui Hachimura and Bertans play the same position.
Mhm.
So do you want to have a sixth man like the Clippers did with Lou Williams? Because that seems to work out pretty well when you just can get instant scoring. That's not bad. So I wouldn't blame the Wizards for not trading him, but I do sort of feel like trades are going to be so hard this year that you could maybe get a really good deal for him.
Yeah. Do you have a final guy to add off waivers?
I wanted to mention a blocks player that surprised me.
Ooh, I like it.
So this player has the same total blocks, 16, as Bam Adebayo over the last 30 days.
Okay.
These 16 blocks are also more than Giannis and Pascal Siakam over the last 30. This player is CJ McCollum.
Ooh.
Yeah, a shooting guard who's getting you more blocks than Siakam and Giannis, and the same amount as Bam. That was very interesting to me. Obviously, it's hard to trade for CJ McCollum, but that really jumped out. I was surprised by that, and it's a great player to trade for because they're having such a weird season. I don't really know how people feel in fantasy about Dame and CJ right
Mhm.
now.
I mean,
Everybody
I have CJ and I love it.
Yeah. Would you trade him? Because, like, let's say that nothing really changes in Portland and they're out of the playoffs.
Sure.
Would you trade CJ for 2 pieces?
Yeah. I mean, I would certainly listen to offers. He's by far he's not untouchable.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't really know, like, in real life, you can't like get him to the Lakers. Like his salary is so high. I don't
Right.
even know. Like I haven't even looked at trades with him. But anyway, that was interesting. Let's see. Oh, Dante DiVincenzo, 3% owned. He's third in total steals over the last 30 days. He
All right,
has
Dante.
28 after Harden and Ben Simmons. And Eric Bledsoe is out for a few weeks, so that could be a pretty nice pickup. That's crazy. I can't
Yeah.
believe he has that many steals. Also, just one more thing. This is for points. Evan Fournier has 23
Yes,
points
sir.
per game over the last month. He's 26 years old. He's making $17 million this year and next year. I think he could be a trade target if Orlando falls back out of the playoffs. But 23 points per game over the past 30, that's good. You should go try to trade for that guy.
Those are good numbers.
Yes, they are. Let's see. Was there anybody else? Oh, Willie Cauley-Stein. He's 50% owned, but he's 11th most total blocks over the past month. And it doesn't really seem like he's lost playing time as the Kings as
Warriors.
Yeah, Warriors as they go through. Wait, who's the guy that came? Oh, Looney, sorry. And he's getting minutes. Like he's playing. And I don't think he's a trade candidate. I mean, maybe he is. But he's one of the Warriors, the Elite 8, where it's just a bunch of dudes getting minutes and no one's really believing in them yet, but they get volume.
Yeah. I like it. So I didn't explain. We're going to move on, and I didn't explain why I chose this to be our next thing to talk about, but I will. I promise. But first, we're going to take a quick ad break, and then we're going to be back and maybe talk some Star Wars NBA crossover. Let me explain why this idea dawned upon me. I guess first of all, The Rise of Skywalker is coming out pretty damn soon, like next weekend, this weekend. It's like,
yeah, I think it already had its world premiere.
Yeah,
but
so it's out.
Maybe we get it Friday.
Yeah, well, maybe you and I should have been at the world premiere. I'm a little insulted that our press credentials didn't get us there.
Oh, well, I was invited, but we were going to pod, so,
Well, I apologize. I'm sorry that this is just...
No. I choose this over everything
my
else,
gosh.
buddy. You know that.
Wow. That is really a testament to me, to this podcast, and to our devoted listener.
I don't need another red carpet, You've
You've
seen
already
one,
got
you've seen
plenty
them
in your
all.
life.
Yeah.
But I guess today's also the 3-year anniversary of Rogue One, which I still think is one of the greatest. I mean, it might even rival some of the films in the original trilogy in terms of just like Star Wars masterpieces. I think that's one of the greatest Star Wars films ever created, and one of the better films of the last 5 years. But
is it better than Attack of the Clones, though? Is it?
Is it though? That did bring some very real tough questions to light. Like, what is Anakin's responsibility upon murdering a village of children?
God, damn that prequel! I'm still upset.
They're so bad. But part of it was I saw the clip going around on Twitter of the final scene in Rogue One where Darth Vader invades and just eviscerates all. Oh my god! And it's just
so over the top. It's
just a perfect scene in
cutting
every
the dude in half.
Oh, it's incredible, just incredible at every level. And so as I was thinking for things to talk about on the pod today, I was like, hey, let's cast Star Wars with NBA players. So that was the reason why, out of the blue, I pinged you, Natty, and I was like, this is the second thing we're going to do on the pod. We're going to talk about Star Wars as NBA players. When we talk about casting Star Wars, I feel like we're not going to look at the prequels, and we're not going to look at the most recent trilogy, because hasn't been final, or at least I haven't. I don't know what you were planning, Natty, but I was thinking the players to tackle. You got to find a Luke, got to find a Leia, got to find a Han and Chewie, and then obviously the villain Vader for the league. And
you mean the tragic hero, don't you?
Exactly, the tragic hero. And actually, that's a well said thing, because that does play into my choice.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I went.
Is it Dion Waiters?
It is. I wish it was, but I don't think Dion Waiters quite has the clout of saving the Jedi.
Oh,
I mean, maybe he does. Maybe he was looked upon as the one that was supposed to bring light or balance to the Force.
Dude, when you skip school and say that you're sick, like, don't take pictures of yourself at the baseball game.
Just solid advice as to not get caught in your lie.
Yeah, I had diarrhea, so I went out on my boat. What the fuck?
Not to send out photographic evidence.
Maybe people do that.
Maybe it's best to have your diarrhea in the sea.
I mean, I think he wants to get traded, don't you?
Oh, well, yes. That I feel like that's a foregone conclusion. Otherwise, why would you get high on gummy bears and have explosive diarrhea on your boat?
I mean, he just hardly has played, and there doesn't really seem like there's a spot on the team for him. And I don't know what his trade value is, because...
All right, we don't need to talk about Dion Waiters' trade value.
Waiters. He's my Luke, by the way.
Oh, good. That fits. So yeah, let's start with Luke. And for my justification, or for my litmus test of this, I was like, you need to have a protagonist, obviously, but he needs to be kind of whiny, that like not everyone loves at first, and he's not, I would say, if you looked at the group of the core three, Luke, Leia, and Han, he's certainly not the most beloved of those three. Don't you agree?
I think it depends. I mean, like, who doesn't like Han Solo?
Right. I mean, Han Solo is the epitome of all that is great and good in the world.
I think people have sentimental attachment to Luke, and everybody loves Leia. So I don't know. It's a strange trio, because I think you're right. Luke is low man on the totem pole, but it's all sort of 1A, 1B, 1C.
Sure. So anyways, I went with Russell Westbrook as my Luke.
Oh, okay.
He's maybe slightly misunderstood. There's definitely a contingent that's very pro him, and definitely a contingent that's very anti him. But seemingly like is a leader in the NBA. He puts up phenomenal stats. He does phenomenal things on the court. But there's, you kind of also just, you don't know what it is, but there's definitely something about him that you're like, I am not fully on board or feeling this character. And that's how I always feel about Luke. So Russell Westbrook, I picked as to be my Luke for this recasting.
Okay. I went in a little different direction. I went with the savior, the guy that will,
Sure.
deliver us to the new
Yep.
age, Luka Doncic, who
Beautiful.
obviously has force magic powers. He uses force slow to cloud opponents'
Yep.
minds,
I like it.
like Darth Nihilus did, aka the Lord of Hunger. And hey, Luka's a little chunky.
Yep.
Here's a quote about Darth Nihilus. He was responsible for the devastation of the planet Qatar in 3952 before the Battle of Yavin,
Yes.
killing and
Yes.
absorbing the force energy of the Jedi at the conclave on Qatar, along with every other living thing on the world.
Oh
I
my God.
believe Luca said that at some point this season as well.
I
So
appreciate
he's-
the depth that you have gone to make these comparisons.
You said Star Wars, and I was like,
And you were like,
cool, I will
I'm
dork
in.
out. Absolutely.
I will take this to the highest level.
Yeah, Star Wars. I'm so apprehensive about the new movie, but it's obviously I will always cast Star Wars. That is not a problem.
Perfect. Well, I like that casting. I think that is, if I were to, feels like a very natural fit for Luke. Who is your natural fit for Leia then?
Okay, Leia. I'm sticking with loyalty with royalty. I'm choosing LeBron.
Oh,
the king.
Okay.
Yeah. So no one wins as much as he does.
Yep.
And it's always others that fail him, like almost all of the men in Leia's life.
Sure.
Like Leia's the one who gets everything moving. She's the one that gets Obi-Wan. Like
Yep.
she's
She does.
the reason
She's the
all
one
of
who
this fucking
carries
happens to
she
begin
carries
with.
the entire
Yeah.
movie's franchise plot line.
Luke would stay a farm boy on some asshole planet that also happens to double as the most important planet in the galaxy. Han would probably have died trying to do the Kessel Spice Run and even under whatever parsecs, which doesn't make sense. But Leia would still be fighting the rebellion. Like, both Han and Luke leave the rebellion at different points.
Right.
In the third movie, Luke just fucking leaves while they're trying to do their biggest attack and defeat the goddamn Empire so that he can go talk to his dad and his dad's boss. He just straight up is like, man,
Totally
good
makes
luck
sense.
with the attack. I wish I could help, but my dad's in town.
I'm not going to be able to work.
You won't need me while you attack on the forest moon of Endor, and you won't need me, one of the best pilots in the galaxy, while our armada attacks the Death Star too. That really pisses me. He just ghosted. It's like, bye, and no one cared.
See, and that's why
also
Russell
after
Westbrook
Lando blows up the center.
Russell Westbrook, are we still on this? A little ghosting there. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm in it. Anyways,
who's your Leia?
My Leia. So
anyway, same with LeBron, by the way.
Exactly.
Like, LeBron doesn't lose because of him. He loses because of other people.
Oh yeah, and the media make sure to solidify that. I took a similar approach to Leia, which was the fact that Leia, despite being in a world of men, gets shit done. And so I tried to think of NBA players, and the one guy who I really wanted to have, I fortunately didn't work, but because it's a little too long ago. But I went with Kemba Walker, who gets shit done in a world of taller men. He's an undersized point guard in today's basketball at 6 foot, but still is able to get shit done and can rise up, thrive in this world that isn't constructed for him. I really wanted 2016, 2017 Isaiah Thomas, since he's like the literal epitome of beating the odds and fighting a small person that's surviving and fighting and thriving in a big man's world. But that was a little too far away, and I wanted to be recent NBA. So so Kemba Walker is plus he and Russell Westbrook both are point guards, scoring point guards. They're siblings in a way,
sure.
I guess you could say.
They're the floor general, like General Leia Organa.
Man, you are making my pitch much better than I made my pitch. I like it. This is why we work well together, because I set out a half-assed idea and you run with it to the utmost.
They
extreme.
both can fly through space, or all three of them anyway.
Yep. So for Han, then you need to have someone, like, there are very clear characteristics of a Han Solo.
Okay.
Suave, alluring in that kind of standoffish way, you know, not overly emotional, but like, you know, he's got the emotion there and he lets it fly occasionally, but like, you know, I love you. I know. Like that's a classic Han. Also gets shit done, but is a hired gun, you know, will play and will, you know, do whatever for the right price. I went with the most recent hired gun in the NBA, Kawhi Leonard.
Nice.
Kawhi Leonard,
Nice.
very, you know, people are intrigued by him because he doesn't say much, but he does a lot. And I feel like that's hot. And then you had him in San Antonio gets a ring, Toronto gets a ring, and now he's in, you know, LA with the Clippers, and they'll probably get a ring at some point while he's there. And I think that he's the kind of, he's maybe not as, I don't know, he could have a little sex appeal too if he wanted to kind of get done up right. Where
Kawhi does not deliver that spice.
leather
though.
boots.
I
Yeah,
mean-
no, he doesn't quite thrive on that level. You mean that doesn't get you hot and bothered?
It would be incredible to have Kawhi just say Han's lines, though.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'd be all
You
over
want
it.
it to fly through an asteroid or a star?
You want us to fly through an asteroid or a star? It's like, well,
What if he's just a gigantic Star Wars nerd and he's like,
Oh.
yeah, I could be Han. Obviously, I dress.
that would be the
for him
least
as
surprising thing
Halloween
in the
every
world.
year.
I'd be like, oh yeah, no, I totally buy that. That, like, you know, Kawhi is this uber nerdy Star Wars guy. Who's your Han?
So I went with James Harden, who is third most in steals this year.
Sure.
And Han is a scoundrel and
You
a
know
smuggler and a thief. And he goes it alone outside of his, you know, blood sidekick Chewie. People don't like either of them, Han or Harden.
That's fair.
They don't like them for how they conduct their business, their trade. And Harden also shot Greedo first, and so did Han. So
well
yeah.
done. Well done.
Thank you
Han-
very much. I
Han
appreciate that.
Did shoot Greedo first, so let's not pretend that he didn't.
But like, it's funny. I mean, this is super nerd, but like Han is really, or he was disliked in the old expanded universe, just because like he betrays people all the time, and he just has a really bad reputation. You sort of get that in the first J.J. Abrams movie. Like he's, you know, he owes people all of the time, and you can't trust him.
Right.
And that's why it was such a big deal when he comes back in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Like when you just see the Millennium Falcon coming in with the star behind it, it's incredible. It's always such a fucking cool scene. Oh man, he's
It's
so
great.
fucking cool. God,
He's
Indiana
so
Jones,
fucking cool.
Ugh.
We
God
talked
damn
about
it.
this before? Very quickly, that Harrison Ford might have a monopoly on like badass roles that he has played. Like if you look at the percentage of his, I mean, the person who I always think that comes to mind too is Hugo Weaving, who's been,
for Matrix and Lord of the Rings,
and he was V in V for Vendetta.
Oh right, yeah.
Which is like, that's a pretty badass trio.
Oh, and he's Red Skull.
Pretty badass trio or quad there. But it's hard to pass up playing Han Solo in Indiana Jones.
I mean, Sam L. Jackson was in Star Wars and then every other cool movie that ever happened, including Snakes on a Plane. And Harrison Ford was in 6 Days, 7 Nights. So they both have ups and downs.
They both have peaks and troughs.
Peaks and valleys. Yeah, exactly. But the coolest thing about Harrison Ford is that Han and Indy are both original creations. I mean, they're both based on other characters, obviously. But it's not like, you know, a cool rendition of Batman or someone who did a really awesome Captain America or Iron. Like, these are totally movie creations, and they're both iconic. And it's awesome that he didn't get like typecast or anything, you know, like he just did all this other shit that was also super cool while being in 6 movies that are among the, you know, coolest shit ever.
Yeah. Who's your blood sidekick to James Harden?
Okay, so this is interesting because I went in a bit of a different route with the same player that you named. Kemba is my Chewie.
Oh, interesting.
Everybody loves Chewie.
Everyone loves Chewie.
He's super helpful. He's arguably, aside from R2, the most important person in Star Wars.
Yep.
He's always there. And by the way, the Millennium Falcon is his. Han is dead. It's his fucking ship.
His.
Like, he should be the captain.
Ugh.
It sucks that they keep handing it off to other people. He's instrumental. Also, it's weird that when Kylo Ren killed his dad and Uncle Chewie is like watching it happen, and he like Kylo and Chewbacca obviously know each other, and then he immediately shoots at him. That's a little strange. Anyway, everybody loves Kemba. He gets you assists. Everyone's super excited he's on board, just like everybody would be with Chewbacca. There's no downside. They're the coolest, and we all love him.
Oh, I love that. I mean, the Celtics fan in me just absolutely adores that pick. That is exceptional. I went with my Chewie pick. I went with more of the physical attributes of Chewbacca.
Totally.
Who do I see with that on the court? The man I picked, he's big, he's hairy, he kind of speaks English, and
my ears are burning.
Not someone who you want to fuck with. Steven Adams.
Oh, not me.
Okay. Oh, sorry. No, not you.
Right. Steven Adams, who gets kicked in the nuts more often than anyone I've ever seen.
And you know what he
does?
While
remaining chill.
Exactly. He grits and bears it. And then when you fucking kill his best friend, he goes ape shit and just starts murdering stormtroopers like a boss.
Dude, guys from Kashyyyk, like they breed them hard there. And
same with Kiwis.
Yeah, exactly. They would get along. God, I would watch the hell out of a movie with Steven Adams and some goddamn
just Steven Adams and Chewbacca like getting high and doing like mystery theater or whatever, science mystery theater, where you just watch old movies and they just narrate throughout it. That's what I want. That's
sure. And they win by getting kicked in the nuts and being underappreciated.
They just every episode ends with them both just kicking each other in the nuts until the one of them collapses.
Right, and then someone comes in and is like, "No, I'm the captain of this ship. This isn't your team."
Yeah, exactly. This leads us to our final casting, the villain or the misunderstood hero, or however you want to explain it. The man who was supposed to lead the Jedi and the Force to balance, but was a little succumbed by the dark side.
He got sidetracked by a pretty face.
I know.
Haven't we all, Pete? Haven't we all?
That's why you don't have babies.
Yeah, by the way, he was also like Jesus Christ in Immaculate Conception. We have no idea who Anakin Skywalker's dad is. It's a little troubling.
Just the midichlorians just like formed themselves inside of his mom, and
I just remember bursting out laughing in the theater when we saw that. And like,
oh God.
Liam Neeson says that, and we all just started
just
like, what the fuck are you talking about?
What an unnecessary thing, George. Like,
fake science is the worst.
Yeah, let's not try to do this. Anyways,
midichlorians.
So you had this person as your earlier. I have him as my Vader. James Harden is my Darth Vader. He was supposed to be the chosen one to help usher in the 3-point wave, but the power of optimization has corrupted him. And now all he does is shoot either 3-pointers or gets to the foul line. That's because those are the most efficient shots in the NBA. So he has taken it to the level where people hate him for it and loathe him. And never forget, James Harden, Russell Westbrook have a long, torrent history together as they both played for the Thunder, and then they were separated, much like Luke and Darth Vader had a very complex relationship. So there you go, James Harden. Plus, James Harden already has the whole breathing apparatus that's like around his face. Some call it a beard. I call it a helpful breathing apparatus for when you're shooting, 33s a game. So he is my Darth Vader.
Damn, I really hope things end up better for him than they did for Vader, because Luke gets away.
Luke gets away. So this is what's going to happen is that James
Westbrook leaves and gets
James Harden's going to
sacrifice
himself. Exactly. James Harden's going to sacrifice him for Russell so that Russell Westbrook can get a ring, and then he will be forgotten.
Sister, she was right.
Yeah. And Kemba's going to be like, wait, what? Someone say something?
I love that, though, because also everybody's afraid and hates Harden. And
Right.
they're so upset about like what he's doing to the NBA, even though he's not doing anything. Nobody
Nothing.
else does this. He's like Shaq, or like
Right.
Dr. J, or like Steph. He plays a different way, and what he's good at, he can do better than everybody else. And so
Right.
you get pissed about it, and then you want the rules changed.
Yep, exactly. Who's your Vader?
My Vader, my Dreadlord, is Giannis.
Yes.
Darth Giannis is stronger than everybody else.
Yep.
He can fly across the court.
Yep.
He's going to destroy the old order and reign supreme in the galaxy.
Listen to this man speak.
Just like Vader, who wields his lightsaber. Giannis doesn't need shooting to be good.
Sure.
But he's working on it.
Yep,
It's getting there.
It's getting there.
Also, like Darth Vader, Giannis has a great smile.
Yeah.
And
Darth Vader's really got that look frozen on his face.
yeah, it does. I mean, he bears his teeth in a strange way. It's a grin.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But Giannis is just the strongest in the galaxy, which is why Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine, wanted him in the first place. Hopefully his anger doesn't overtake him, but it looks like he is stone cold assassin this year. I don't know if he wants the MVP, but he wants to be in the Eastern Conference Finals with a good chance to get to the finals. If that doesn't happen, I don't know what happens in Milwaukee because it's going to be unacceptable.
Yeah.
They need to be a legit contender because Giannis is doing things that we've never seen anyone do before. And he sort of, it's not that it looks easy. It just sort of looks like it's not as impressive that he can do it. He just moves so well for someone so big, and he's just made out of muscles. You know, it's just midi-chlorians up from head to toe.
Fucking everywhere.
Yeah, like he could dual wield lightsabers, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, Giannis was an immaculate conception. We all know that. And
probably.
Rings true.
Yeah. And, Anakin had to leave a desperate plight on his home planet, and Giannis had to leave from desperate spots in his home countries, and now he's here, and he's on a collision course with the LA Lakers and LeBron James, and
ooh, Natty, well done.
Thank you very much.
Tying it back to Princess LeBron.
Like, there's no part of me that doesn't want a Lakers-Bucks finals.
I know.
I just want to see those two fucking go head-to-head so hard.
For 7 games.
Yeah, and I just want to see Brolo be happy.
Yep.
But I also want to see Danny Green in the finals again because that would cement my belief that, like, he's really important. But, yeah, Giannis just looks – it's
a perfect cast.
LeBron would have to – turn it up a notch to get the MVP right now for me. Like Giannis just looks like the best player alive.
Yep. I completely agree with that. Real quick, let's hit studs, duds, and buds for the week.
Sure. Yeah. We were both 50% last week.
We were indeed. Yeah. You're now 7-5. I'm 5-7. I got to stop doing that so that I can actually catch up to you. Got to start winning and you got to start losing. So for those who are new to the show, every week we give a player who's set to have a great rest of the week, a player who's going to struggle, and someone who we want to just keep watching play. Natty, why don't you start us off? Who is your stud for the week?
I'm going to go with Norm Powell, who is a Toronto Raptor, young guy who's just been fucking lights out over the last month.
Yeah.
He's 15% owned, by the way. He's averaged 18, 3 and 2, 3 rebounds, 2 assists with 1+ steal per game and 2+ 3-pointers made over the last 30 days. His upcoming 3-game schedule is Detroit, the Wizards, and Dallas. The Wizards are a catastrophe on defense. And the other 2 games, like Luka's out and Detroit, Drummond and Blake have been trading on and off with being injured. I just think this is a nice sort of easy schedule, and maybe some of the more established Raptors won't have to play as much, which means that Norm Powell, who's a young kid and can score, is going to get some volume. So I like him this week.
I love it. My stud for this week, I'm speaking a good week into existence because he's on my fantasy team and I want him to do well. Tristan Thompson plays the Hornets, the Grizzlies, and the Hornets have been letting centers do whatever they want against them, and the Grizzlies haven't been much better. And I like the fact that he's pissed off that it feels like this team is not using him right, or something clearly is going on behind the scenes. He had a nice little yelling match with Cleveland's coaching staff a couple of games ago. So I like that. I like that raw intensity. And with 2 matchups where he's going to be able to take full advantage of, I think he's just going to come in and just continue to get you basically double doubles for the rest of the week.
We have been saying it since the preseason. We like the pissed off players this year.
That's the only way to play.
Yeah, it's it's funny because in some ways the NBA has never been better off, especially since like the big teams like look really good aside from the Knicks. There are also teams like the Warriors and players like Kevin Durant that are out, so they're making room for other faces. And I mean, it's weird that there's so many angry people.
I love it. I'm here for it.
So yeah, absolutely. So that's a good pick. I love it.
Who's your dud?
My dud is the unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis.
Chrissy.
Yeah, Luka's out, and the Mavs are going up against Boston, Philadelphia, and Toronto.
Oh, that is a rough schedule.
Yeah, so that's that's 3 front courts that you don't want to play ever. And I think those teams are going to see a Luka-less Mavericks team as not an easy win, but a win that they should get. Mm-hmm. So I think these games are going to be really tough for Dallas, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lost all 3.
Yeah, and we saw him do very well against the Bucks in order to stop their winning streak. But it's a tall task to say, hey, the whole franchise or the whole team is basically on you now for the next 3 games. You're going to be the one that everyone's after when you're facing 3 of the best defenses in the league.
And not for nothing, but the last time Kristaps was the number 1 option on offense on the Knicks sucked ass. So
fair. It's fair, dog.
Like it could work out. It would be great if it did. Like if he just goes off and it's like 28 points, 3 straight games or something, like that would be awesome to see. Get a bunch of blocks, like be like old Kristaps, and the rest of the team sort of compliments him. That would be great.
Yeah, well, it certainly put them in a good place moving forward. My dud this week, we talked about him a little bit. He hasn't been great this season, and now he's got 2 real tough matchups. Danny Green.
Nice.
I don't think he's going to have a good week. He's facing the Bucks and the Nuggets for the rest of the week, both of whom are not defenses you want to mess with, especially the Nuggets, who are allowed the 3rd fewest threes made to shooting guards this year. So
that is how they have their record. It's been
Will
their defense, not their offense.
Yeah, Will Barton doing good shit out there in Denver. And since Danny Green's already had a fine season up until this point, I don't see him lighting up the scoreboards for the rest of the week.
He hasn't really been shooting well recently.
Yeah.
Like he can definitely do better, but maybe they're just asking him to do more defense than anything else.
Yeah, which is what they need him to do. Who is your bud? Who are you looking forward to watching for the rest of the week before we go?
Okay, my bud, you mentioned his running mate earlier. PJ Washington is going to be out probably until the new year, but at least for the next little while. My bud is Miles Bridges on Charlotte.
I had Devontae Graham all written in my notes because I thought that's where we were
really?
going, but I like it. Miles Bridges.
That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, so Charlotte plays Cleveland, Utah, and Boston. That's like 3 different levels of teams. I know Utah is supposed to be a contender, but they just don't really seem right yet. Maybe just still rounding into form. Cleveland is a bad team, and Boston is a contender. Can Miles Bridges step up with PJ Washington out of lineup and more attention getting thrown his way? He's been averaging 13 points and 5 rebounds over the last month with 1.8 3-pointer made. Totally cool. Absolutely fine. I would like him to get up to like 18 points over the next couple of games, especially against especially against Cleveland. I think you have to like try to get a 20 and 10 in that game because I think you can. And Miles Bridges he started off, a little shaky, but this is his time to shine because next year he will be a third, like he and PJ Washington will sort of be established. This is the future of our team. We're going to build around you guys. So this is really like his last year where it's like, all right, here's the leash, do whatever you want. Like, we just want to see improvement. We have no expectations.
Yeah, I like it. My guy who I am excited, Natty, he's on my team, and he is back and doing crazy things already. De'Aaron Fox is back.
Hell yeah.
He is healthy. Let's hope that this means the Kings will suddenly start actually moving the basketball at a decent pace.
It's been working for them. It's so stupid.
It's
I can't
really
believe
dumb.
They're in the 7th seed right now.
It's
Like,
ridiculous.
I can't. God, that's really annoying because they're so much fun when they're fast. But
Right.
maybe, yeah, like you
But
said,
maybe the
they'll
speed of
speed
De'Aaron
up.
Fox. They're playing the Hornets right now as we're recording this. He's already like physically leapt over Devontae Graham and blocked his shot with his foot. So he's already doing crazy shit on the court. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited that he's back. He's just a fun guy to watch play basketball because of his speed and just because what he can do on the court. So I'm glad he's back and healthy. And let's see if these Kings can get frisky again.
They're in the 7th seed, like I said. They're 12-14. They've been 500 over the past 10 games. Does De'Aaron Fox get you 3 more wins? Because if he does, then you're tied with Utah for the 6th seed, and that's a legit team.
Yeah,
so
let's do it.
The Kings could. I mean, this could be their playoff year. Like we were hoping. So right now they're the 7th seed. The OKC Thunder are in the 8th seed, and everyone's
Also
saying that no one can trade Chris Paul. So it's like, why not try if you're going to be good? You have all these picks. The Phoenix Suns are out of the playoffs. Their fast start really is they're 3-7 over the past 10 games.
But Ayton's coming back.
That's true. That's very true. But then you can't, well, they'll probably be able to find minutes for their stretch 5.
Right. We'll see.
But Portland's still out, although they're only a game out. San Antonio's 2 games out. And Minnesota is 2 games out. So there's still a lot of flux going on, but I still like Sacramento more than I like those teams if De'Aaron Fox is back and healthy.
I like it, though. I'm excited. Let's see how this team
Like,
can
it
do.
would be tough for them to get. So here's the top 6 in the West: the Lakers, the Clippers, the Mavs, the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Jazz. It would be sort of tough to see the Kings getting more wins than one of those 6 teams.
Yeah. I would love to have them be frisky, but they don't need to be in the playoffs to be frisky. So we'll see what they can do in the West and at least cause some sort of chaos and havoc.
It's just nice that there's a lot of churn in the West. And aside from, the Lakers and the Clippers, we don't really know where these teams are going to end up in the standings.
And that's what's fun about it.
Hey, it's nice not knowing.
Hey, it is a gift that we both share and we are giving to you, the listener.
By the way, if the playoffs started today, the Bucks would be 24-4, and the Sixers would be 20-8 in the East, and the Lakers would be 24-3, number 1 in the West, with the Clippers 20-8. So both conferences sort of look the same right now in the pecking order. But
let's get frisky, baby. Let's throw some shit in there and see what happens.
It's gonna, and no one's gotten traded, just like we sort of predicted. By the way, like nothing's happened yet. Interesting season.
We'll see what happens. All right. Well, that's all we got for this week. Make sure to subscribe. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Fake Teams podcast channels where you'll find us. Just search Fake Teams and we will pop right up. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at The Long Two Podcast. We will be back, not next week because it's winter break. We got all kinds of things and we're celebrating holidays and whatnot, but maybe the week after, maybe not, because that'll also be New Year's. Who knows when we'll be back, but we will talk to you guys back when we talk to you next, it'll be in 2020. Natty, have yourself a good holiday.
You do the same. I'm going to leave you just with a question.
Love it.
Is Rey a clone of the Emperor? Because remember, she has no parents.
Or was she another Immaculate Conception?
Thank you very much. Enjoy your holiday. Enjoy Star Wars.